Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlene Benedict for the Newsfirst team.
And I am Hashni Patrana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Is Sajit unable to defeat Anura? SJB responds to Ranil's statement.
මෙතන අපි යමක් හොඳින් තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ තමයි අපිට පේනවා අනුකුමාර දිසානායක මැතිතුමාත් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාත් අතරේ යම් ගනුදෙනුවක් තියෙන බව.
Serious structural changes to bring about prosperity to all. Sajit launches economic plan. Ranil's opinion on SJB's economic plan.
මේගොල්ලන්ට බැරි වෙලා තියෙනවා එක මැතිවරණ ප්‍රකාශයක් ගේන්න දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් තියෙනවා සැමට ජය කියලා. අනික කියනවා Blueprint 3 කියලා. එක පැත්තක කියනවා GLPDC නාලක කොටේ. අනිත් පැත්තේ ඉන්නවා හරිසයි එදානුයි කබීරුයි.
How will the government be formed after the presidential election? Anura clarifies his plan.
ජාතික ජනබලවේග ආණ්ඩුව ආරම්භයේදීම මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු විසිරුවා හරියි. කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයට මොකද වෙන්නේ? කලබල වෙන්න එපා. අපි විවස්ථානුකූලව ඒ කෙටි කාලය අපි රට පාලනය කරමු.
Human skeletal remains found at the Colombo port. Investigations launched.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Starting off with a look at those stories in detail now, the Samagi Jana Balavegia today responded to Ranil Wickremesinghe's statement from yesterday in Mahiyanganaya, where he claimed that Sajit Premadasa cannot defeat Anura Kumara Disanayake.
Now, Dr. Harsha De Silva said that Wickremesinghe's remarks indicate his acknowledgement of defeat in the presidential election.
Sajit Premadasa can never defeat Anura Disanayake. Why has there always been a competition between two people in this country? One from the government and one from the opposition, to be the Prime Minister and now to be the President. When Mahinda Rajapaksa was in power, they did not allow anyone else to emerge. Now Anura Disanayake has come forward and Sajit is considered a threat. Some believe that Sajit might succeed, but Sajit cannot defeat Anura Disanayake. Sajit might even unintentionally aid Anura Disanayake with his ineptitude. So remember that.
මෙතන අපි යමක් හොඳින් තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ තමයි අපිට පේනවා අනුකුමාර දිසා.
We need to understand something clearly. There appears to be a deal between Anura Kumara Disanayake and Ranil Wickremesinghe. This deal suggests that while Wickremesinghe and Sajit Premadasa might publicly seem to join forces, in reality most of the former UNP members are now with Sajit Premadasa. They are trying to undermine his team's morale, claiming that Sajit Premadasa and Wickremesinghe are expected to collaborate. On the other hand, Anura Kumara Disanayake is receiving substantial support through the state sponsorship, addressing citizens and making numerous promises. It is evident that Sajit Premadasa stands on one side, while Anura Kumara Disanayake and Wickremesinghe stand on the other. Therefore, do not lose hope. If they believe that Anura Kumara can defeat Sajit, it is clear that he cannot win at all.
එක්සජාතික පක්ෂයත් එක්ක ගිහිල්ලා ජනාධිපතිවරයාම කියනවා නම් අනුර කුමාර දිසානායක ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවා කියලා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස පරද්දලා එතනින් කියවෙන තවත් දෙයක් තමයි ඔහුට කිසිසේත්ම ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්න බැරි වෙන එක.
The Samagi Jana Balavegia presented its Blueprint 3.0 named Towards an Advanced Social Market Economy.
The launch of the SJB Blueprint Towards an Advanced Social Market Economy attracted a wide range of personnel from across Sri Lanka's business sector.
The cycle of promises and unfulfilled potential is why we have been stuck. Not because we lacked vision, but because that vision was often sacrificed for short-term political gain. The cost of this is not measured in just economic terms. To break this cycle, we cannot afford shallow thinking. We need to really consider what it takes to create real change, fundamental, and they require urgent structural reforms. Real change demands the collective will of a strong majority in Parliament. There are no shortcuts. It's within this democratic framework that we can build a solid foundation, not just to address our current crises, but to safeguard the future generations to come. SJB is the only team with a clear plan. A strong team that possesses the political will to deliver the necessary reforms. It is important we have patience and also embrace the discomfort that comes with change. We will stand firm in our commitment to the constitutional and economic reforms that will transform our nation. Nothing can stop our growth except our own wishful thinking. It's time for all of us to step out of our comfort zone and consider the bigger picture. Our national security, our prosperity, our future. All of it hinges on economic security for everyone. It hinges on future stability. We promise you continuity and recovery along with change. We promise to create robust engines of growth. We promise serious structural reforms, and we will ensure inclusive growth and shared prosperity. Anyone can make promises, but SJB possesses the only team that can deliver on this promise.
Blueprint 3.0 provides a strategic plan to tackle challenges, rebuild the economy through inclusive growth and secure a prosperous future for all upon the principles of a social market economy model within a broad political ideology of a social democracy.
So I think you are very clear that when we say that there are certain limits within which we can negotiate this agreement with the IMF. There are limits within which we can negotiate and renegotiate with the creditors. It is not as if we can say, we will pay when we can, and they will say, okay, no problem. That's not how the world works, right? So let us be very, very careful in not being fooled by certain people who say that they can change the whole thing. The IMF diagnostic study spells out the pervasive nature of corruption. It's embarrassing. They say at the highest levels it's printed and distributed around the world that the IRS is corrupt, that the customs is corrupt, that excise is corrupt. So then, beyond digitalization, we have to make sure the rent-seeking behavior of those people has to be eliminated. Right? So unless you are able and willing to do that, unless you have the political will to implement that, corruption in these agencies will also continue.
The blueprint contains 10 pillars of reform, namely transparency and accountability, debt crisis management, monetary and exchange rate policy, revenue consolidation, expenditure control, incentivized growth, public sector management and digitalization, energy and utilities reform, factor market reform, stronger social safety nets.
The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is not to be frowned at. You go to a bank when you need the bank's money, when you need its endorsement. If you're going basically to quote your company on the stock exchange, you obviously need to get a good audit report so that people have confidence. Countries that go to the International Monetary Fund go there because they have mismanaged their economies. And therefore, the program with the International Monetary Fund is absolutely essential. And therefore, this present program with the International Monetary Fund must continue. And the overall pillars are agreed on. But what we have to do, and when we are talking about changes, what we are talking about is some of the changes that are affecting the people which we will have to really renegotiate. Sometimes there's confusion on that. There is macro economic stability that is needed, but there is also social stability that is needed. Countries can never advance economically unless there is social stability too. And this is something that governments have to understand and government has to work with.
Independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the Samagi Jana Balawegaya has split in two and has presented two contradictory policy statements.
අතිගරු ජනාධිපති රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමාගේ මතුගම ගෞරවනීය සම්ප්‍රාප්තිය සිදු.
Another phase of the series of Pull on Sri Lanka rallies organized in support of independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe was held at the Mathugama town today.
A leader is a person who should be able to work with anyone. There is no need for a group to go worship him. What has happened today? Let's take a look at the SJB. They have been unable to bring a single manifesto. There are two manifestos. One is Victory for All and the other one is Blueprint 3. So are these two manifestos? There are two teams and we know it. On one hand, there is GL Piris and Nalaka Godaheva. And on the other hand, it is Harsha, Iran and Kabir. Those are the two teams that have done this. They don't even know where they are going. The Blueprint 3 says that they will create a high-quality social market economy. That is in the manifesto put forward by Harsha. The other manifesto, Victory for All, says that a social market economy will be created. They remove the word high quality. These people are social and the others are high quality. What does this Blueprint 3 say on page 32? It does not speak about any of those concessions. One manifesto gives the concessions and the other one takes them away. Is this the team that is going to work? They are saying that they will reduce the expenses of the army. They have to clarify this to us. There are two children in the womb of a mother at the same time. One child was born in 9 months. The fathers are GL Piris and Nalaka Godaheva. And the other child was born in 10 months. And his father is Harsha De Silva, Iran Vikramaratne and Kabir Hashim. You have to decide which child you want.
Several factions that are supporting independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe also spoke at the event.
This is the reason why Sajid Premadasa's team has fallen to third place. They started at the top and today they have collapsed and are at the third place. Today the leaders of the SJB are thinking about how they can join hands with Ranil Wickremesinghe. They are sending him messages and asking him to attend discussions on how they can unite. They have begun to sweat and have realized that the wave is gone. Recently, when Ethiopia went bankrupt, the IMF went to Ethiopia. What did the IMF say to Ethiopia? They said, follow Sri Lanka. They asked them to follow the Wickremesinghe method. The IMF is asking other countries to use the Wickremesinghe method, while the people here are saying that this system is not good. This is the political culture of our country. Therefore, I say to you, we fell in a ditch once, but that was at night. Now the same ditch is there in the afternoon. If you want, you can jump into it. You protested while laying gas cylinders across the road here. The people in front of me protested and demanded for gas. But where was the gas? When the queues were increasing daily, when we were looking for a solution to these queues, when the leaders were running away, this leadership was taken over by Honourable Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Presidential candidate Sajid Premadasa asserts that the Samagi Jana Balawegaya will not align with the groups that are undermining the country in any way.
Another rally in the series of public rallies held by the Samagi Jana Balawegaya for the presidential election took place in Galle yesterday afternoon. The leaders of the political parties associated with the Samagi Jana Sandhanaya also participated in the rally, which was chaired by the Samagi Jana Balawegaya presidential candidate Sajid Premadasa.
ජනාධිපතිවරයා ප්‍රමුඛ ආණ්ඩුව දැන් තරඟෙට SMS පණිවිඩ හරහා
The government led by the president is currently sending messages to the country via SMS that they are also following the SJB's footsteps. I want to tell those individuals that the JVP and the president have united to spread false rumours and are paying various websites to post news on Facebook at a time when our victory is already assured. I want to make it clear that after the SJB wins on the 21st, we will stand with the 22 million people of this country and will not ally with these corrupt and ineffective political parties. I am aware that the President and the leaders of the Malimawa are eager to join us. If they want to, they can join the Samagi Jana Balawegaya or the Samagi Jana Sandhanaya. But I want to emphasize that we will not align with these groups that are destroying the country. On the 21st, a new era representing the 22 million people will begin in this country.
Members of parliament and parties supporting Sajid Premadasa also spoke at the rally.
If you want to save the UNP, if you want to strengthen the UNP once again, if you want to reinforce the Samagi Jana Balawegaya and reunify this country while empowering its people, I urge you to refrain from voting for Ranil and support Sajid Premadasa. Today Ranil Wickremesinghe is conspiring with the JVP to defeat Sajid Premadasa. Who is Ranil's team? Ranil Wickremesinghe's team is the one that has ruined the country's economy.
A new political alliance, the Podujana Eksath Nidahas Peramana, was officially launched today.
The alliance was launched as a result of a consensus reached by several parties, including ministers of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, who support independent presidential candidate Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The Podujana Eksath Nidahas Peramuna was officially launched today in a ceremony held in Battaramulla. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has been appointed as the chairman of the Podujana Eksath Nidahas Peramuna, while Minister Ramesh Pathirana will serve as the secretary.
This alliance marks the beginning of a powerful journey, one that will forge a great movement representing all nations, all religions and all political affiliations. Today we celebrate the first steps of this transformative path.
During the event, the name of the alliance and its official insignia were unveiled.
We are witnessing the rise of certain political groups spreading hatred and undermining democracy, while others offer false promises, crushing the hopes of the people. We believe our nation is facing significant geopolitical threats. Through the United Freedom Front, we will build a powerful force capable of providing the leadership needed to eliminate these three critical dangers.
Various political parties supporting the Podujana Eksat Nidhas Peramuna signed the formal agreement marking the official formation of the alliance. Representatives from Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Mahajana Eksat Peramuna, Eksat Mahajana Party, Elam People's Democratic Party, Tamil Makkal Vidutale Pulihal, National Congress, United National Party, Jatika Samagi Peramuna and Patriotic People's Movement signed the agreement.
අපි පතනේ අනාගත ලංකාව බිහි කිරීමට අපි අධිෂ්ඨානයෙන් කැපවී සිටින මොහොතක ජනාධිපති වරණේ ජයග්‍රහණයට
As we commit ourselves to build in the future Sri Lanka that you envision, while working for the victory of Ranil Wickremesinghe and with the upcoming dissolution of Parliament, formation of the United Freedom Front today marks a new chapter in our country's history. We have not chosen a different path. We have embarked on a journey alongside with the common people, committed to the national and progressive direction that this country must take. We need support and contributions for that. 2 years ago, Sri Lanka faced an unprecedented economic and political crisis, one that had not been faced even during the war. We must harness the same strength that you have built by uniting with us to overcome the challenge. We are embarking on this journey with a program that aligns with the people's needs, grounded in the democratic vote of this nation. This front has been created not only for our political parties and organizations, but also for the people of this country who now hold new hope. To our former provincial council members, to those who defended us in parliament, and to all who stood with us in the past elections despite any threats, whether political or personal, we assure you with great responsibility that we will protect you. We will not allow any harm to those who have stood by us.
අපේ මැතිවරණයේදී අප සමග කටයුතු කළ සියලු මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලට කවුරු මොන තර්ජන කරත් දේශපාලන හෝ අනියම් තර්ජන කරත් අපි බිහි කළ මේ පෙරමුණ ඔබට කිසි දඬුවමකට පත් වෙන්න ඉඩ තියන්නේ නැහැ කියන ප්‍රමාණුව තාම වගකීමෙන් අපි
Several state ministers have been removed from their positions with immediate effect. State Minister of Ports and Aviation Services Premalal Jayasekara, State Minister of Power and Energy Indika Anuruddha, State Minister of Agriculture Mohan Priyadarshana De Silva and State Minister of Highways Shripala Gamlat have been officially removed from their positions with immediate effect. According to the President's Media Division, this decision was made under the authority granted to the President by Article 47(3)(a) of the Constitution of Sri Lanka. In more local news, presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Anurakumara Dissanayake, says that the people of Sri Lanka are working to ensure a victory for the National People's Power. He also elaborated on the NPP's plan after the presidential election.
Another rally of the Ratta Anurata series was held yesterday in Jayala.
It is the people of this country who are working to ensure victory for the National People's Power. Neither Ranil nor Sajid can defeat this. So what do they do next? They keep asking what would happen after we win by the 22nd of September. I will tell you what we will be doing. If we win, that means we have the mandate of the people. However, there is an issue concerning the mandate we have been given and the parliamentary mandate. What has happened to the parliamentary mandate? People voted for Prasanna from the SLPP, but now Prasanna is with Ranil. People voted for Sudarshini from the SLPP. She is with Sajid now. People voted for Nalin Fernando from the SLPP. Nalin is with Ranil now. People voted for Nalaka Godaheva from the SLPP. He is with Sajid now. Where is the mandate of 2020? Since the mandate is no longer valid under a government of the NPP, what we will be doing first is dissolving the parliament. Then what will happen to the cabinet? Don't worry.
We will rule the country constitutionally during this short time period. When we get the presidency, a vacancy will be created in our parliamentary seat. That way we can get one more into parliament. With me, that would make 4 of our people. It is constitutional to form a cabinet of ministers of 4 people. If that is not possible, it is also constitutional for the president to take all ministries under his purview, or else we can form a caretaker government. We will hold parliamentary elections. There is much public discourse that those in parliament now should be sent home. This will be the opportunity to do that. 2/3 of those in parliament now will be gone after the next election. The parliament is scheduled to convene again on the 8th of October. What will happen after that? A majority from the NPP will come into parliament. What will we be doing next? We will form a strong cabinet of ministers. How many will be sent home on the 21st? Vote wisely on that day. We will not let anything go wrong. Keep in mind that the NPP will form the strongest, most stable government that has ever been formed in the country.
ලංකාවේ ස්ථාවරම ශක්තිමත්ම ආණ්ඩුව තමයි ජාතික ජනබලවේගයේ ආණ්ඩුව හදන්නේ.
Members of the National Executive Committee as well as artists addressed the rally.
පළමුවෙනි වැඩේ දේශපාලන සංස්කෘතිය වෙනස් කරන එක. ඔබට අපි සහතික වෙනවා.
The first task is to change the political culture of the country. We assure you that in order to eradicate fraud and corruption, we will ensure maximum penalties for the crooks who robbed public assets. We will execute the country's laws and put an end to corruption in the country. The rulers of the country keep providing jokes for us to laugh at every single day. We do not need those jokes. They haven't done their jobs. Because the politicians are being comedians right now, we artists have ended up having to do politics. That is why I am on this stage today. This country has already been handed over to a people-friendly government. We are done for if we do not take into account the gravity of the situation. So let's do the needful, at least now.
A new Memorandum of Understanding was signed today, solidifying support for presidential candidate of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, in the upcoming election.
A group of electorate organisers from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party signed this Memorandum of Understanding in support of presidential candidate of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa. Approximately 40 constituency organisers from the SLFP were present to endorse the agreement.
This agreement between the two parties is further solidifying the mutual understanding between us. Don't try to find who the SLP peers and SLF peers here are. They all represent the same camp, which is the Sri Lankan camp. When SWRD Bandaranaike moved to the opposition, turning down any ministerial positions, D.A. Rajapaksa stood steadfastly by his side. Today, as his grandson Nama Rajapaksa strives to safeguard the values of the leftist movement, we, as the SLFP, stand united with him in unwavering support. Today, two groups with the same briefs who represent the political camp have joined hands together. I am personally making this effort to protect the principles that we believe in during this election period as well as in the future. I invite all our party members who have distanced themselves from us in recent times due to forming alliances with policies that didn't align with our values, to those who cherish the ideals of Bandaranaike, especially the legacy of Siramawa Bandaranaike and Sri Lanka Freedom Party, I extend a call to action. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna now upholds policies that are aligned with our nation's needs. I urge you to join hands with the team representing youth, including Tisara, who have joined with us today in the leftist political camp. Together we represent the same class and shared ideals. Let us unite for a strong future.
Independent presidential candidate Field Marshal Sarat Fonseka said that his plan is to eliminate fraud, corruption and the misuse of public services. He made these comments while addressing a public rally held opposite the Madhavachia bus stand.
The top priority is my plan to eliminate fraud and corruption in the country, as well as abuse of services by state sector employees and politicians. Without addressing these issues, a country will never develop. To combat corruption, we must first understand the institutions involved in it. Next, we need to identify the institutions responsible for combating corruption and activate them. These institutions need to be cleaned up from the top down. The war heroes know that I strengthened and purified the army from the top down, which is why we won the war. You will feel the difference.
Ex-South Lanka Podujana Front presidential candidate Janaka Ratnayaka claims that all main political parties will form an alliance and contest the election.
Political parties and candidates who claim to be the main candidates are now panicking. They fear that an alternative candidate may emerge in the presidential election. This concern arises from the fact that a significant portion of the voter base has not yet decided who they will vote for. Therefore, there is a strong trend that within the next 2 weeks, these main parties will come together and form new alliances. The group will be realigned and these main candidates will form an alliance.
We are only 16 days away from the presidential election. Here is a look at the latest, most heated political viewpoints in tonight's edition of Before the Ballot.
Before the Ballot.
Who built the Surabara tank? Was it Bulata? Of course not. It was built by Samantha Vaidyaratna and Anrukumara Disanayaka, who also built 10,000 other tanks. That is how much work they have done. Samantha Vaidyaratna was the Minister of Cultural Affairs. If you show me one temple to which he has donated a single bag of cement, I will step down from my position of State Minister. They also said that there is a hole in the Umaoya Reservoir. I don't think that there is a hole in the Umaoya Reservoir. But it is possible that there are holes in Sunil Handunethi's undergarments. Do not vote for these new leaders. We have learnt our lesson after doing that in the past.
Before the Ballot.
They do not represent a proper party. They do not follow a proper policy. They do not even have faith in their own team. One day they would be on one stage and the next day they would be on a stage of a completely different party with no shame at all. It is the political camps that fuel corruption that are afraid of us coming into power. What are they trying to do? They are attempting to create a certain fear in the minds of the people. They talk with so much rage. They're making various allegations against us. They're spreading lies against us. It's obvious even to a small child that those are lies.
Before
the Ballot.
The NPP has come masking its true nature. The people will get to know the reality once they come to power. Therefore, please do not look at Sajit or the SJB through tinted glasses. Think wisely. If there is any other political movement in this country with a good team, proper vision and the will to save the country.
Before
the Ballot.
Sajit Premadasa was given the opportunity in 2022 to raise his hand in Parliament, take over the country and create a revolutionary change. However, he kicked away that opportunity and let the 22 million people of this country suffer in queues. It was only Ranil Wickremesinghe who stepped up and took that responsibility.
Before the Ballot.
Those in the Ranil Wickremesinghe faction will soon understand the truth and abandon him. Ranil Wickremesinghe has already been rejected by the people of this country. That is why he ended up coming into Parliament through the national list. The people who did not vote Ranil Wickremesinghe into Parliament have obviously rejected him from politics as a whole.
Before the Ballot.
We are not trying to elect a local council member. We are not trying to elect a provincial council member. We are not trying to elect a member of parliament. It is a head of state that we are trying to elect. If we make a mistake here, the state will collapse and be hurled into anarchy. The next 5 years are extremely decisive. If the wheel is handed over to the wrong person, this vehicle will definitely crash.
Before the Ballot.
The definition of politics is making themselves and their families rich. They do not want to gather all the people to develop the country. They ran a business in the name of politics. They ended up getting rich and the country ended up going bankrupt. Do you believe that they would come into politics if they could not steal, rob from their ministries, use their power to establish hotels near the Mahaveli River, acquire lands in Hantana, had no pension, or had no vehicle permits? No, they would not. That is why we say that they are done for if all the crooks do not unite.
Before the ballot.
It was the president of the country who protected democracy when the parliament was going to be burnt to the ground. He is the one who saved the economy. He is the reason for us to be able to lead a peaceful life by now. We should be thankful. There is no person among these candidates who is capable as him. Neither Sajith nor Anura can do it.
Before the ballot.
Ranil is creating fear in people's minds that the country will go right back into an era of queues if he is not elected into power. The truth is that he did not end the era of queues. They gathered money in the treasury through water tariff hikes, electricity tariff hikes and other tax hikes. He says that he ended an era of queues while having those who created those queues alongside him on stage.
Before the ballot.
Postal voting for the presidential election was held for the second day today. Voting commenced at 8:30 a.m. this morning and concluded at 4:30 p.m.
According to the Election Commission, today's postal voting activities proceeded in an orderly manner across more than 1,500 centres island-wide. Postal voting will conclude tomorrow. Postal voters who are unable to cast their votes within the designated 3-day period can still do so on the 11th and 12th of September. Strengthening the people, fighting for the truth, leading a nation. Forging the future. Newsfirst with the people.
Wanted. A leader. A Sri Lankan with the courage to lead a resplendent nation and her people into an exciting future. A Sri Lankan with intelligence and grace. A leader with a clean heart and a clean record. A leader in love with Sri Lanka. A leader this nation deserves. The presidential election 2024. Sri Lanka, you decide. News first, we report.
The area where human skeletal remains were found at the Colombo port was examined today.
The human skeletal remains were found at the first roundabout after entering the Colombo port from Chaitya Road and travelling along the main road of the port towards the left. The human skeletal remains were found at this location on the 13th of July. The old port office is also located in close proximity to the area where the skeletal remains were found. These skeletal remains were found during the excavations of the port access elevated highway. The first skeletal remains were found about 6 feet deep in the ground, according to a police spokesperson. The examination of the skeletal remains began today and was overseen by Professor Raj Somadeva based on a court order. The skeletal remains were exhumed in the presence of Colombo Additional Magistrate Bandara Ilangasinghe. Members of the collective of families of missing persons were also present at the site.
An intervenient petition seeking an order reversing the interim order issued barring Deshabandhu Tennakon from acting in the capacity of Inspector General of Police was filed at the Supreme Court today. The intervenient petition was filed by the chief incumbent of the Bellanvilla Rajamahaviharya, Dr. Bellanvilla Dhammaratanathera, Kolupitiye Rahulathera and Professor Venerable Agalakada Sirisumanathera.
The Supreme Court on the 24th of July 2024 had issued an interim order preventing Deshabandhu Thennakoon from acting in the capacity of the Inspector General of Police after hearing arguments and petitions filed by a group including His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. The intervenient petitioners in their petition had pointed out that the interim order barring Deshabandhu Thennakoon from acting as their IGP has affected the ability of the Election Commission to issue orders to the Inspector General of Police. The petition goes on to note that during his tenure as the Inspector General of Police, Deshabandhu Thennakoon had successfully carried out the Yukti operation with the view of eradicating the drug menace in the country.
The Criminal Investigation Department arrested former ASP Sanjeeva Mahanama in Malabar today.
According to police spokesperson DIG Nihal Thalduwa, former ASP Mahanama was arrested under allegations of aiding and abetting in the incident where shots were fired at the vehicle of former MP Uddika Premaratna. Police investigations have revealed that the shooting was planned by both former ASP Sanjeeva Mahanama and former MP Uddika Premaratna. The incident took place on the 17th of September 2023 outside his residence in Airport Road in Anuradhapura. The minister was unharmed from the shooting.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Every dream needs a power source. For over 40 years, LTL Holdings has powered the Sri Lankan dream, turning your potential into energy, your vision into reality. We are a nation of dreamers, waking up when the lights come on. Opening our eyes to a future full of cleaner energy, one where every Sri Lankan is in charge. Sri Lanka's biggest IPO opens on the 10th of September. LTL Holdings, power to the future.
Over 20 people have been injured following a collision between two buses in Nagala along the Bibila Ampara main road. According to the police, the clash involved an SLTB bus and a bus carrying a group of garment factory employees. The injured have been taken to the Bibila hospital for treatment. Expert in sovereign debt restructuring, Professor Les Slibuchet, says that the society acts as though it believes that their posterity will not need the fiscal space that is now consuming prematurely. He made this statement at the anniversary oration on sovereign debt, the myth of the golden age, which was held today at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
All countries have the ability to borrow on the public credit, but up to a certain limit. That borrowing capacity will be constrained by the market's perception of the country's creditworthiness, by an assessment of its fiscal and monetary policies, by a lot of factors that are extraneous to the country. The more acute the perceived risk of the sovereign debtor, the higher will be the interest rate that the market will charge to compensate for that taking on that additional risk. And in the final analysis, if the risk is perceived to be too great, the markets will shut off altogether. That's the sudden stop that our economist friends like to talk about. That capacity to borrow, that is the ability to raise debt capital that has not yet been used, is part of what the economists call a country's fiscal space. In these remarks, I'm going to refer to fiscal space as the unused capacity of a sovereign to borrow. No country knows exactly when. The market may perceive that it has reached the saturation point. There will be signs. When the risk premium begins to creep up, that's the sign that the market is perceiving it. But you can't tell exactly when that will happen. How much more difficult is it to try to predict when that saturation point will have been reached 10, 20, 30 years down the road? There is also the question of remedy. Confronted with a mountain of inherited debts, our posterity will have the four options I've just described. Pass the debts on, tax yourself to pay them, inflate them away, or default and restructure them. None are pleasant, but at least one, historically, will be sufficient. There is no easy remedy when you have taken away the fiscal space of a future generation. Even a cathartic debt restructuring will probably render the country to be a greater perceived credit risk and will delay even further its ability to borrow on tolerable terms. A sovereign's untapped borrowing capacity is a very precious thing. It will determine whether the country can respond with financial vigor to future exigencies. With adequate fiscal space, the sovereign can borrow to fight a war, to recover from a natural disaster, to cushion citizens from the effects of a pandemic, to stimulate an economy in the wake of a financial collapse. But in the absence of adequate fiscal space, the sovereign's response to any of those calamities will be at best feeble and at worst wholly unsatisfactory. Which brings me to the title of this talk, Sovereign Debt and the Myth of the Golden Age. Many societies cherish a myth of their golden age. The ancient Egyptians thought it was the 18th dynasty. The ancient Romans, at least according to Edward Gibbon, saw their zenith in the 2nd century AD. The British influence was at its apogee in the century between Waterloo in 1815 and the beginning of the First World War in 1914. The Americans speak fondly of the spirit of 76. And I put it to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we in the sovereign debt community also cherish a myth of a golden age, except in our case, it isn't in the past. By our behavior, we seem to believe that our posterity will not need the fiscal space that we have taken today by borrowing to plow our road in life, and we are leaving them with a constrained fiscal space in the future. If you want to put it that way, we behave as though we believe our successors will not have wars, will not have pandemics, will not have natural disasters, will not have financial panics, but of course they will.
The anniversary oration on sovereign debt, the myth of the golden age, was held today at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has launched an online authentication process for birth, marriage and death certificates in partnership with the Registrar General's Department.
Sri Lankan citizens can apply for the authentication of their birth, marriage and death certificates through the Consular Affairs Division's online platform via a new online authentication process. The authenticated certificates will be sent to the applicant via email, eliminating the need for in-person application or collection of authenticated documents. The procedures for online authentication of birth, marriage and death certificates are as follows. Visit the official website of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and submit an online application through the portal provided. Once the details are submitted, applicants will receive a link to make the required payments. The fees for certificate generation and authentication should be paid online through this link. After completing the transaction, the authenticated document or customer copy will be emailed to the address provided by the applicant.
The 21st Asia Pacific Retailers Convention and Exhibition 2024 kicked off in Colombo yesterday.
The opening ceremony of the 21st Asia Pacific Retailers Convention and Exhibition kicked off in Colombo. The theme of this year's conference is redefining retail in APAC from transactions to transformation. The convention will be held for 3 days, featuring a diverse range of discussions, exhibitions and networking opportunities designed to explore the latest trends and advertisements in retail. Chairman of the Federation of Asia Pacific Retail Association, Roy Monday, was the chief guest of this occasion.
It is no secret that Sri Lankan economy had faced significant challenges in recent years. In 2024, Sri Lanka is on target to record a growth of 1.9%, and in 2025 we are expecting a further growth of 2.5%. The inflation has eased significantly, and in fact, in the month of August, the inflation was 0.5%. Many expected the hyperinflation and the contraction of the economy to further prolong, but we are pleased to say that within a short time period, stability has been restored.
Over 600 delegates from 18 different countries are participating in this convention.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
මාතලේ සේනාගම කියන්නේ දුෂ්කර කම්මානයක්. ඔවුන්ගේ ජීවනෝපාය කෘෂිකර මාන්තේ සහ කුලී වැඩයි. මේ ගමේ වැසියෝ කන්න තුනම වගා කරලා රටට බත සැපියුවත් ඔවුන්ට බොන්න පිරිසිදු ජලය නැහැ. ගම්මැද්ද ඔවුන් සොයාගියා.
ගම්මැද්ද රට නගන ජන පවුර.
Welcome back to the news. The 6th finalist of Shakti Crown signed a significant agreement with M Entertainment, Sri Lanka's leading record label. The partnership marks a major milestone for the young talents as they embark on their musical journey.
The post-finals press conference of Shakti Crown was held at the Stein Studios in Ratmalana. Shakti Crown was launched with the aim of revolutionizing the Tamil reality TV landscape in Sri Lanka, seeking to discover and nurture the next generation of Tamil singing talents. Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group, Shevan Daniel, highlighted the organization's mission to propel these emerging stars onto the global stage.
Sri Lanka's gift to the world is her music. Our music is very special because our music is very ancient. We have so many different flavors in our music that we've made it all our own. And that's what makes this country so special, the music of Sri Lanka so special. It is an unlimited gift that we can give the world. And these are our messengers, our ambassadors. These 6 guys, along with the finalists from The Voice and all of these other reality shows that we produce and gift to Sri Lanka, they are our global ambassadors. They are the young Sri Lankans who take this message of music to the rest of the world. But they can't do it alone. And that's why M Entertainment has signed up with global giants. We, in this small country, have tied up with these giants so that our giants can have a giant future, an incredible future.
The finalists inked the deal with Sri Lanka's largest record label, M Entertainments, which recently forged partnerships with global music giants Virgin Group and Universal Music. Shakti Crown winner Pranavi Selvakumar showcased her exceptional talent by performing her original song, which had captivated audiences during the grand finale.
Sri Lanka's Dunit Velalage and Harshita Samaravikrama have been nominated for ICC Player of the Month awards for August.
The ICC Cricket Council announced the nominees of the ICC Player of the Month award for August. Dunit Velalage's nomination for the Best Men's Player of the Month award comes at an impressive performance by the Sri Lankan all-rounder prodigy in ODI and T20 matches against India. He scored a career-best 67 and followed it up with wickets of Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill in the first ODI against India that ended in a thrilling tie. He made another crucial contribution with the fighting 39 runs in the second ODI that helped Sri Lanka to a winning total. He also went on to achieve the career best figures of 5 for 27 at the ODI against India, derailing the Indian innings before it could take off. Dunit Welalage is competing with South Africa's Keshav Maharaj, the West Indies' Jaden Seals for this honour. Meanwhile, Harshita Samaravikrama was nominated for the World's Best Women's Player of the Month award for her outstanding performances in the ODI and T20 matches against Ireland. She scored 2 half-centuries in the T20 match and a century in the ODI match. Harshita Samaravikrama is competing with Ireland's Orla Prendergast and Gabby Lewis for this honour.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.
night.